Hi everybody, it's Kate Kaltoff and welcome. It's a Stamping to Share Facebook Live and we are here on Tuesday morning. Tomorrow morning over at YouTube, I will go ahead and do a premiere. So those of you that can't join me live but do like to chat with me, the premiere will be at 10 o'clock Central tomorrow over on YouTube. And that will be, oh, I hate to say it, but I'm not sure the date. Maybe tomorrow is the 16th. I think it's the 16th tomorrow. So that'll be the day we go live over there. So again, welcome. It's exciting to be here. We are going to explore a product suite from Stampin' Up! That's called the Countryside Corners. And it was one of my very favorites. It was one of the very first bundles that I ordered. And I've made a lot of cards with it. So I'll probably have a couple weeks here of sharing cards. And so this is the first set of cards that we're going to do. And let me just show you the product suite real quick. It is on page 62 of our Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. And what I love about it is it not only gives you a wonderful set of dies that are extremely versatile that you can use with way more than just this stamp set, but it also offers you the most beautiful designer series paper. And so, oh, and that reminds me, I have a designer series paper share for the mini catalog coming out. I think the first day that we can order paper from the new catalog is September 6th. So that will be from our fall and holiday catalog, and I'm really excited about it. But getting back to this is the gorgeous paper, and I'm going to go through it with you in just a second. It's the Countryside Inn Designer Series paper. This is the 6x12 paper that was left that I always make a set for myself to share on videos and with my downline. So I'll go through that in a minute. Let me also show you what the stamp set looks like, and it looks like this. And I've had some customers who were not aware that it's basically a background stamp. So you set it up on, I think this is a block F. Let me just double check. Yep, this is a block F. So you'll set the stamp set up on this stamp, on this block, and stamp it all at once. And I'll go through and share with you how we do that. And then the set of dies, the very versatile dies that I was sharing with you before, I'll give you some tips for that as well. But again, these can be used for so many card making things, not just related to this. And then I want you to notice that this designer series paper has the most wonderful little flowers on it. And if you go to that catalog page, which so many people have missed this, if you go to the catalog page where it talks about the suite and you just turn to the very next page, oh my goodness, look at this beautiful coordinating stamp set that I don't even think a lot of people realize coordinates with the Countryside Inn Designer Series paper. See these little flowers? They're almost identical to what we have on here. And then look at this bigger flower. There's some other designer series paper that has that bigger flower in. And look at, it's right here. And then, of course, the Countryside Corners doesn't even have sentiments. But when you turn the page, it's called Lasting Joy. You get a ton of sentiments that just coordinate really well with that paper. So I absolutely love it. So fun. All right, so let's go ahead and get started creating these cards. This is going to be fun. Here is that Lasting Joy stamp set that I was talking about. So we will be using that. And then another thing that's in that product suite is an embossing folder, and it is called the Countryside Blossoms. And so we'll also be using that on one of the cards. So very fun. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by sharing with you what the designer series paper looks like. And again, this is cut 6x12. It's just a great way for me to show it off. And this is how I work my paper shares, 6x12 pieces or 6x6 pieces. You can find all of the information for my current paper shares on the link in the description that takes you to my blog post. So I've had quite a few people sign up for it already, and that's a good idea because the early birds will get the earliest shares that I put together. All right, here's the back side. of that pretty perky little bird that we're going to be using in one of our cards. Here's the sweet little foxes, and then the backside. And again, we'll be using this backside on a second card that we're making today. And here's that really awesome flower that I was telling you about that I really think is pretty. And this color is so cool because it almost looks like there's vellum over the top of it, doesn't it? Almost really subdued and vellumish looking. Love it. And there is the backside. Lots of pretty stripes and dots. Here is some pretty tree paper with those pretty little flowers scattered in and some leaves. And here's the backside. And little bunnies. I love this paper. And I have a really pretty card we're going to be making next week with this particular piece. And here is the back side. And finally, we have this one and this gorgeous paper. All right, so let me go ahead. We'll get this out of the way and we'll get stamping. All right. So let me go ahead and get started with the first card that we're going to do. And I'm going to bring that out here so you can see what it looks like. It's this one right here. And here is the card base. So this is thick, basic white, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. And we have our inside blank. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my ink pad. And we're going to get out our Night of Navy ink and our Balmy Blue ink. And the first thing I think we're going to do is we're going to stamp the front of the card. Now this might not be too noticeable to you, but I have a vellum panel in here and it's so pretty in real life. It's really hard to explain. It almost looks like a shaker card, except it isn't. It's like a faux shaker card. And I'm going to show you how to stamp that. Probably before we do that, we need to make a template so we know exactly where to stamp. That's always kind of helpful so you don't stamp too much or not enough. And so to do that, we are going to take our Pretty Bird Designer Series paper cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then you take one of your dies, and which one is it here? It is the second biggest die. So well, actually it's the third. We're not going to count this one. We're going to put this off to the side. So if you just look at the corner dies, 1, 2, it's the second biggest die. And you just want to make a cut right through the middle of your Designer Series paper. And this is the paper we're going to be working with. And this is kind of what we can hold up to the front of our paper and know if we're doing everything right. Okay, so here are the little flowers. And again, this is from the Lasting Joy stamp set. And I'm going to ink it up in Balmy Blue. And I'm going to start stamping right here through the middle. And I'm stamping off 3 times. So I'm going to start with 1, 2, 3. Because I want to really fill this in. And you can see that I'm using all of these different generations. And now what we can do is we can grab our template and hold it up. And we can tell immediately that we need a little more stamping over up on that corner. And I don't want it to be first generation, so I'm going to stamp off once on scrap paper and throw in a second generation here. And then we can hold this up and make sure that it still looks good. I think I'll throw a third generation in right here. All right, and that looks perfect. So now we know that that's working. So then the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to put our vellum on the back of this before we forget it, because that is something that happens to me sometimes. I get all involved doing something and then I forget to do the vellum part. So you will need a scrap of vellum that is just big enough to go over the back side of that hole that's going to be in your Designer Series paper here. So I'm going to put that on with some, well, what am I putting it on with? I think we're going to use our Stampin' Seal. So I left enough room on my scrap paper to be pretty generous with my tape or glue. You could also use glue. And I've got it right here, and then I'm just going to set this over the top. And it doesn't matter what it looks like on the back, but it looks like I did a pretty good job. And here it is. So that's what we're going to be looking through onto the card right here. The next thing we want to do is we want to take our Night of Navy ink that we have here, and you're going to stamp that big background stamp. You can see what it looks like right here. And I already did that. And then you can so you can do a series of cutouts. And one thing that I like, and I shared this with my downline and they thought it was brilliant, and I'm sure you maybe even know about this already, but you can take a set of dies, get them perfectly spaced, and then I just use some removable tape from Scotch, and then I can set them in like this, get them all lined up, and I can kind of press this in because it's removable tape, so it's not going to leave any marks. And then I can run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And when I do that, I get 1, 2, 3 cutouts. Now, if I wanted to cut out all of them at the same time, I could certainly do that. You would just keep lining up your dies, and when it looks good to you, just add a little strip of the removable tape, and it works great. And so, but I only need this much, so I went ahead and I cut out some of those. And the one that we're going to use, boy, I sure hope it didn't get away on me. Here it is this little piece here. So let me go ahead and grab my card front back, and I'm going to take some multi-purpose liquid glue. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue here to the back of this. Not very much, just a tiny little hint. And then we can set this right over our little cutout on our designer series paper. And we can wiggle that right into place, because with glue you have that ability. It gives you a couple of seconds to wiggle it in. And now we have a nice frame on the front of our card. And so this is looking pretty good. Let me just check. I think what we can do already is we could put this on our card, but I'm going to wait just a minute because I also want to stamp the inside panel. So the inside panel, I'm going to use Night of Navy ink. And then I'm going to get the bigger sentiment, because this is obviously a birthday card. So the inside sentiment's going to say, "May the years ahead be filled with lasting joy." And that's actually the name of the stamp set, Lasting Joy. So just take your Night of Navy ink and ink that all up. And then you're just going to set it right here onto the inside panel of your card. And then to give it some accents, go ahead and take those little posies, and we're going to ink that up just like we did on the front of the card. And we're going to stamp that with the balmy blue. And you can go ahead and do a second generation. So then I'm going to do it down here and a second generation. And then you just have a little bit of an accent on the inside of your card, which looks really nice. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead now, and we're going to take this and just pop that right over the top. But you know what? Because we want it to look a little bit like a faux shaker card, we don't want it sitting directly on top. It makes this part of it too bright. It doesn't encourage you to bring that card right up to your nose to see how it was made. And so we want to give a little bit of space between our vellum and the base of our card. So we're going to do that with dimensionals. So I'm going to flip this around. Going to grab my dimensionals, and I'm going to use a whole bunch of them. So I've got a bunch of tattered and scattered ones here. And we're just going to start putting them on rather heavily all throughout this card here. And I need another set. You can tell I'm just using up some of my scraps. Sometimes we get these dimensionals in our paper pumpkin kits, and they're a little bit, they're, uh-oh, oh no, oh no, it's good. Sometimes they come in a little bit smaller size to work with the paper pumpkin kit. All right, that looks good, so I'm going to start peeling this away. And then we're going to put this right over the front of our card. I see that people are loving the designer series paper, and some of you are sharing. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. It helps a lot, especially since I'm just getting started after being gone for so long. Not that I was really gone. I still worked with my customers in my downline, but I was kind of gone from Facebook. All right, here we go. We're just going to center this in on the front of our card. And then when you get it right where you want it, just press it down. And now we have a little bit of a lift on our card. So it makes this a little more interesting. It makes you want to put it up by your face, nose length away, to see what it was you did to get that look. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to work with the, sorry, I've got a lot of stuff on my desk. These cards, they're not complicated, but they require a lot of layers. So I had a lot of layers here. So you're going to take a scrap of balmy blue, and then you want to use your die cuts again. And this time you'll be using the smallest die cut right here because we're going to make a sentiment panel. And I want it in blue because I want it to pick up the accents of the balmy blue scattered around on this card, and also in the background here behind the vellum. So it's just a straight cutout. I didn't do any stamping on it, but I'm going to now. I'm going to take my birthday wishes. I'm going to stamp it in Night of Navy, right like this. There we go. And now we can go ahead and we can set this on our card, right on the front of our card. So I'm going to put that down, I think, with, where is it? I'm going to use, do I want to use Stampin' Seal or glue? My gut's telling me I better use glue. It's because I want to be able to wiggle it just a little bit in case I don't get it centered. Once you use that Stampin' Seal, there's no wiggling going on, let me assure you. All right. So we're going to set this right here. And look how pretty that is. And we're going to make it even prettier because we are going to add some gems. Of course we're going to add some gems. So I am going to use, well, actually, before we get to that point, grab a scrap of the designer series paper. So you see, here's a little scrap of the paper that I'm using, and cut out one of those little Tweety birds. He's so cute. And then go ahead and put that little Tweety bird on with a glue dot. So let me grab my take your pick tool. I'm gonna flip this guy over. Use the little pokey tool, add a little glue dot to the back of this birdie, and we're gonna set him right here, looking up at the birthday wishes. There. So see how he's perched on the bottom border, looking up at the birthday wishes. So cute. And now we can go ahead and add our rhinestone basic jewels. So I have a pack that's open, but an unopened pack looks like this. And you get lots and lots of them. So now I'm going to take the other side of my take your pick tool, and we're going to add 5 small gems. We're really going to sparkle up this card. So this is what it looks like without sparkles. And let me share with you how pretty it's going to look with sparkles. So we're going to put the first one right here. And the second one is going right here. And the third one. And the fourth one. And the fifth one. And let me hold this up so you can see. Wow, what a difference a few little sparklies make. Isn't that pretty? I'm not sure that it's really catching the light. It is in my world. It would be in your world if you were holding it too. So pretty. All right, and there's the inside panel. But we're not done. We're gonna make another card. So let me go ahead and show you the next card we're going to make. To get a few things out of the way here. All right. So the next card, I'm going to do a little embossing with you, and we're going to use the Countryside Blossoms. So let me show you what the next card looks like, if I can find it. Here we go. So we're going to use some ribbon. Let me fold this. We're going to use some ribbon, and we're going to use some iridescent pearls, which do have a lovely iridescent shine to them. And I'm going to show you how to make this look really neat like this by embossing both at the same time. So the first thing we're going to start with, so we're going to do that embossing first. And so we want a 4-inch square piece of designer series paper. And we're going to lay that right through the middle of a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of paper that is balmy blue. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to, you can do glue or you can do Stampin' Seal. Since I have the Stampin' Seal handy, I'll just go ahead and use it. And you want to put this right in the middle of your card. Maybe I should have used glue. Oh no, here we go. That looks right. All right, and then we're going to emboss both layers together. So just insert that into your embossing folder. And I kind of like to make sure that it's, you know, that it's looking kind of even, so that this big flower is pretty much right in the center of my card. Here is our Stampin' Up, Stampin' Emboss folder. Cut and emboss. I think it's Stampin', Cut, and Emboss. Man, it's been a while since I've said that. So that's a mouthful. All right, here is the plate number 1. Here is the plate number 3. They're all labeled to make it really easy, and all of the directions are on your plates. So we're gonna put that down. Then we put our folder, and then another plate, and then you just run it through. So there's a nice handle crank here. And then I'll show you what this looks like in a second. Let me get this all put away again, or I will have no room on my desk. Isn't this cute? It folds up into like a little purse style. I like it a lot. All right. Oh, and we get the most beautifully embossed panel. Can you see all those grooves? Oh my goodness, it looks so cool. All right, then here is our card base. So we'll be using this to attach. And I think I'm gonna set that aside. We're actually not gonna use that yet because what did I just notice? We have a ribbon wrap on this card. So let's go ahead and get a few other things ready before we progress. So you'll also want a scrap of designer series paper, or not designer series paper, balmy blue paper. And you are going to die cut with, let me grab it. I gotta get it out here. I'm gonna set this all up so I can we can count which one you want to die cut with. You want to die cut, so count out 3. So 1, 2, 3. You're going to take the third from the middle, that particular frame, onto your scrap and die cut that so that you get something like this. Stamp your always up here in the left, upper left corner. And then go ahead and set this on your card so that, I don't know, so it's about maybe a 1/2 inch or so from the bottom. And this is going to be glued on flat, or you can use tape. I'm going to use glue. And if you want, you could put it higher, but the problem is if you use dimensionals on this and then you use dimensionals on the next layer, what happens is it's getting a little high, and then you have a bow, and then you run into trouble when you try to mail it, or at least I do. All right, so here we go. We have our front panel getting there. The next thing you want to do is you want to take one of those little cutouts from the center, and I have that prepped and ready to go. And then I also stamped in my heart on balmy blue, and I cut it out with this little die that's also a part of this set. And again, you're wondering where these words came from. They came from the Lasting Joy stamp set. So again, you can see how well it coordinates with the Countryside in Designer Series paper and the Countryside Corners bundle. All right, so this is going to end up going right here. So we do not want to put this on yet. We want to put our ribbon wrap on. So we are using a ribbon called Night of Navy bordered ribbon. It's so good they have names on everything, because I really struggle. All right, the struggle is real. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to just cut this a little bit bigger than our card. Then I'm going to make a bow. I know I've showed you guys this so many times, but I'll show you again in case, just in case there's somebody new that's never seen me tie a bow. So what I do is I just fold over this top ledge like so. Then I take the back tail and I wrap it around behind. See? So it goes wrapped around behind, and then I bring it from behind and I just tie off a bow. And then it just looks really cute. And then you can kind of fiddle with it a little bit to get it just the right length, and then you can cut it. Whoops. Cut it over here. Oh, so sweet. So pretty and sweet. All right, so we'll put the bordered navy blue ribbon aside, and now we have everything. And now, as I mentioned, just keep this sentiment panel nice and loose on the front of your card, and then throw your ribbon right over the top of it so that you know exactly where you want to tape it behind. So I'm gonna flip this behind. Now I don't care about that because I've got it in a good spot. And I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can use snail back here, or not snail, Stampin' Seal. But I'm gonna just use a little piece of Scotch tape to hold it in place. And then do the same thing over here. And then we can go ahead and put it on the front of our card. So let's bring that back into the picture. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And then on the inside panel, I'm leaving it blank with the exception of a little strip of coordinating Designer Series paper. And then we're just gonna set this right in over the top, center it in. We'll do that with a little multi-purpose liquid glue, or you could use Stampin' Seal. As you can see, I use a lot of the adhesive from Stampin' Up! Pretty interchangeably because it's all good. Sometimes though I need wiggle room, and in that case I like to use glue. And sometimes if it's a lighter weight paper and I don't want I don't want to worry about a glue line like with Basic White or Very Vanilla, then I use Stampin' Seal. So now it's time to go ahead and put our sentiment on here. So I'm going to flip it over and we're going to add some dimensionals. And I want to keep the dimensionals kind of at these very, very edges, because if it's just grabbing the ribbon, then it gets a little loppy. You know, it sort of bops around a little bit on your card, and you want this to be secured on your card. There we go. Very nice. Now we just center this in on this little tag that we made. Oh yeah, this looks so good. And then just press it into place, always in my heart. And now all we have to do is add our pearls and our ribbon. So the ribbon's gonna go on with a mini glue dot, pretty easy. And we're just gonna kind of set this, see how there's the Designer Series paper right through these two balmy blue places? We'll just set that in right there. I'm gonna make this bow just a tiny bit smaller, I think. So I don't want it covering up my always. Yep, we think of all these little things and we fuss and fuss just to get it perfect. And then our recipient opens it up, looks at the front for about a whole total of 3 seconds and goes right to the inside. I'm like, kids, you are supposed to ooh and ah over this. Oh, they've learned through the years, they do the oohing and ahhing just to make mom happy. All right, I know I get a better reaction when I send cards to my customers and to my downline. I'm sure they're oohing and ahhing. All right, here we have our iridescent basic pearls, and we're going to go ahead and put on a few. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool again, one of my favorite tools in the old Stampin' Up toolbox. And we're just going to add a couple up here, and then I think one down here. And this is what the full pack looks like before it's been dived into. So you can see I've been diving. All right, so let me get all the cards out that we did. I want to show them to you because they're just so pretty. Do you love them? I hope so, because I do. We're going to make some more Countryside in bundle cards next week as well, just because I have these cards and I just think they're so pretty, and it is one of my very favorite bundles in the catalog. And I truly appreciate that everybody stuck around until the end, because you know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to pull the camera down and I'm going to show you what I'm up to in the farmhouse. So give me a second to grab the camera. Hi! Thought I would come on here and give you an idea of what I've been doing lately. So let me flip the camera around because you're going to need to see this. You guys remember these old crocks? You might have seen these. We have one that's about 6 times this height and width. And that was the old sauerkraut crock when I was a kid. And so my parents used to make their own sauerkraut. And I believe they must have canned it after they were done, because I remember sauerkraut being in cans, but I don't know. Maybe it was put in the refrigerator. I don't know. But this past week, I decided I would go ahead and I would make zucchini kraut, because we had a ton of zucchini. So I wasn't going to make the ginormous amount of canning stuff that my parents did, but I thought I could do a small little canning project. This is fermented, so I'm not canning it. I'm just putting it into my refrigerator. But I made 6. Whoops, can you see it? I made 6 of these. So I fermented it in this big old-fashioned crock that's super awesome old. In fact, it holds coolness so well. I had taken this this zucchini kraut out of the refrigerator, and I just put it in here right before my Facebook Live started, and it's like a refrigerator in there. It's amazing how awesome that is. I mean, it's like the original ice bucket or something. But here's the kraut that I made, and it's zucchini kraut, so I used both yellow and green zucchinis. Sorry, I don't think you're seeing it. Hold on. I gotta look what I've got on the camera here. So this is what it looks like. And I'll take the cover off so you can actually see the inside. Maybe I'll take the cover off. Hold on. Here we go. Yep, it's like sauerkraut. And that brine on the top, that is created with salt. I mean, you don't really have to work too hard to make a kraut. You just take the veggies that you want to use. You use, I mean, I think for a bunch of kraut, because you have to pack it way down, I think I just used like maybe 1.5 or 3, maybe 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of salt in all of this kraut, and I ended up with 5 jars, 5 1-cup jars. And I just love it. It tastes really good. So I think I'm going to be using it on burgers and brats and as a nice fermented side. You know, it's got that really awesome sauerkraut taste, but I'd say it's a little softer than like cabbage because, well, you know, we started with zucchini, not cabbage, so that's a little bit of a softer vegetable anyway, but that's what I've been doing. Oh, and somebody's asking me how I use the kraut. Yep, I'm probably just going to use it on hamburgers and, you know, like you would use sauerkraut basically on sandwiches or just as a little side. It's just a nice little side on your plate of potatoes and meat because we eat a lot of that out here at the farm. All right, I'll let you guys go. It's been fun chatting with you. And whoops. I hope you will join me next week for another Facebook Live and another look of what I'm doing on the farm. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.